Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Razak at CMTrading. Today is July 20th, 2018, and today is Friday morning. So looking at the economic events of the day, coming out of Canada at 2:30 South African time, monthly CPI numbers coming out. That's an inflationary number, and monthly retail sales numbers coming out. So not massive information that's coming out today, but just be aware that these numbers are coming out. We'll take a look at the Canadian dollar in just a moment, but let's see what's been happening in the market.
This conference will now be recorded.
So we're jumping here into the Euro USD 4-hour chart. As you can see, we kind of like leveled off here at this 116.50-ish level, okay, which was previously somewhat of a resistance, somewhat of a support, and it's a nice round-up number. And I do expect, we had this little sell-off yesterday back to 1621-ish level. I do expect us to be choppy, okay? I don't expect us to be trading massively today, but you might want to just take out some feelers to put in like a small short position just to see if it's actually trading, and then to take it from there, because altogether the majors have been kind of weak against the dollar as that's been trading. However, looking at the GBP USD, we're actually looking at a nice bounce here, okay, back to the 130.92-ish level. We touched 129 yesterday, which was possibly a capitulation. Okay, so we may look for a bottom here because, take this into consideration. I mean, let's look at a weekly chart. This is where we were after Brexit almost 2 years ago. Okay, so this is really something to consider, that we've, had a correctional move all the way to 141, and now we're back to this 130-ish level as the dollar is, getting much stronger across the board. So keep that in mind as that continues to trade. Looking at the USD ZAR, nice breakout yesterday, dollar getting much stronger versus the rand, and as you can see, we're above this 1350-ish level, and just look like we just made a saucer move on the rand. Okay, so ultimately your resistance level is 1363, nothing has changed there, and your support is 1345. We're smack in the middle of that. So unless we break one of those two parameters, just be aware of that, because it looks like we've leveled off from this 1316 level, and now we're correcting ourselves on the upper side of it. Aussie USD still flat here. Okay, we bounced a little bit, but still very weak. Okay, so I don't expect this to bounce much higher, and I do expect it to go back to its lows. And as you can see, we're looking at a daily chart. I mean, this is pretty, this is pretty massive. Okay, looking even on a weekly chart, this is, multi-years lows. Okay, so this is really important and a very pivotal moment for the Aussie USD. If it does break down further, we could see it going back down to the 70-ish level as we've been there before in 2015, 2016-ish level. Okay, so correctional moves across the board versus the dollar, and we're inching into multi-year lows. Okay, and if we do break those multi-year lows, we could see it go further down. Now, jumping into the commodities, jumping into gold, we had a little bit of a bounce yesterday from 12.12 to 12.19. So you can't write this stuff up. These lines, these support lines I set up for you guys, so potentially these are really good entry levels or entry positions to jump into. Okay, I don't expect us to go back to the 1240-ish level, 1250-ish level, but I do expect us to maybe churn a little bit here before we do have a breakout on the downside. Now, yesterday we had a little bit of a bounce for oil above $69 a barrel, but still shy of $70 a barrel, and we're inching into potentially some minor resistance here, so we may see a correctional move on the downside later today. Now, if we're looking at the Dow yesterday, we had a decent sell-off yesterday. Okay, if we look at that, almost a nosedive right here from 25,108-ish level to 24,920. Okay, about 200-point move, and we're selling here just at that 25,000 level. Okay, just shy of that by 11-12 points. So altogether, I think the markets are factored in right here, and this is like a fair level to be for the Dow Jones right now. Okay, however, the NASDAQ did break out higher, but did recede yesterday. If we take a look at that in just a moment, but let's jump to the DAX first. We saw a little bit of a sell-off yesterday, as you could see, after we broke above this resistance level. Potentially, this can be support here at 12,641. So I'd look for that as a possible entry point, if we do get that consolidation here. Now, jumping into the NASDAQ, as you can see, we had a little bit of a sell-off. So, like I said previously in previous market reviews, it's a little bit of a tease. because getting into this at these levels is a little bit more difficult, and it's because to have that conviction when you're buying the top of the move, and you're always afraid that there's going to be a correctional move on the downside. But you got to keep an eye out for what the majors are doing, the Facebooks, the Amazons, the Googles, okay, and see what they're holding at, and comparatively see if the markets are breaking out higher. Looking at Bitcoin, which is really interesting, we had this nice rally where we covered this gap down that we had previously at the beginning of the month, or beginning of last month rather, and we were trading at 7,400 Bitcoins. Now, if we do close that up, and we do, there is resistance here at 78.41, just be aware of that. But this could potentially break out higher if we see that there's a little bit of a shift in the market towards Bitcoin, maybe on the upside. So keep that in mind as this trades later today. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish everybody a great trading day and a beautiful weekend. Thank you.